Donald Trump fails to grasp just how fed up women are with his relentless attacks on their rights and his constant demeaning rhetoric. And now he is paying the price. In typical Trump fashion, as the early voting numbers show warning signs for him, with the gender gap widening, he is doubling down, making things even worse. Now he said something so repulsive that it could define the rest of his campaign. I'm going to get into it all. My name is Brett Meiselas, here with the MeidasTouch Network. Remember to hit subscribe and help us get to 3.5 million subscribers. Let's dig right into the latest data. 14 million people have voted early in the 7 swing states. 1,387,977 more women have voted there than men, 55.1% to 44.9%. The gender turnout gap grew by 101,929 since Tuesday. Gender turnout gap is female plus 13 points in Pennsylvania, plus 12 in Michigan and Georgia, plus 11 in North Carolina, plus 8 in Wisconsin, and is lagging slightly behind at -1 in Nevada. Overall, very good numbers for Vice President Kamala Harris. And this in Politico, the headline reads, Dems see signs of optimism in gender gap in early vote. Let's read it. Across battlegrounds, there is a 10-point gender gap in early voting so far. Women account for roughly 55% of the early vote, while men are around 45%, according to a Politico analysis of early voter data in several key states. The implication for next week's election results are unclear. Among registered Republicans, women are voting early more than men, too. But the high female turnout is encouraging to Democratic strategists who expected that a surge in Republican turnout would result in more gender parity among early voters. Quote, in some states, women are actually exceeding their vote share from 2020, which is at this point shocking to me, said Tom Bonnier, a Democratic strategist and CEO of the data firm TargetSmart. You all know Tom, he's on the show a lot. I never would have bet on that. Politico's analysis of early voting data in Pennsylvania found that women registered as Democrats made up nearly a third of early votes this year from people who did not vote in the state in 2020. That's big news that we are getting low propensity voters who did not vote in 2020 voting now in this election. They are fired up and they are energized. Let's continue. According to TargetSmart's analysis, Black and Latino women under the age of 30 are not only showing up at higher rates than their male peers, but by even a larger margin than they did in 2020. That finding is echoed by internal data shared with Politico by the progressive women-focused organization Supermajority, which is targeting many of these women. More than a third of the 3.6 million low-propensity women the organization is focused on turning out have already voted, which Democrats see as a good sign given that infrequent voters tend to vote later or on election day. And likely reacting to that information, Donald Trump was in Green Bay, Wisconsin last night, and he kept bringing up women in the creepiest way imaginable. Donald Trump grossed everybody out. I mean, I'm still cringing, and I've heard this clip now many times. Donald Trump said that he wants to protect the women of our country and said, quote, I'm going to do it whether the women like it or not. Ugh, watch.
And my people told me about 4 weeks ago, I was saying, no, I want to protect the people. I want to protect the women of our country. I want to protect the women. Sir, please don't say that. Why? They said, we think it's very inappropriate for you to say. I said, why? I'm president. I want to protect the women of our country. They said, sir, I just think it's inappropriate for you to say. I pay these guys a lot of money. Can you believe it? I said, well, I'm going to do it whether the women like it or not. I'm going to protect them.
Let me be clear, Donald. You know who women need protecting from? From you. You've stripped away all of their rights, their reproductive freedoms, and you are an adjudicated sexual assaulter. So I think you are the last person to protect them. The Harris campaign was out quickly with a rapid response ad about this, showing some of the anti-women headlines about the Republican Party and Donald Trump alongside Donald Trump's comments. Watch this.
They said, sir, I just think it's inappropriate for you to say. I said, well, I'm going to do it whether the women like it or not. I'm going to do it whether the women like it or not. 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 I'm going to do it whether the women like it or not.
And meanwhile, yesterday there was a huge bombshell, stunning story, and I guess these stories just get ignored by the media now. Like they just don't even talk about Donald Trump's connections to Jeffrey Epstein. And when we find out that Donald Trump groped another woman, it's not news now, I guess. Well, we're going to talk about it here on the MeidasTouch Network. And here is the report. Donald Trump jumped on a blonde 6'1" model and groped her while she tried to fight him off at a beauty pageant in 1993, the woman says. She also said that Trump was working with Jeffrey Epstein to recruit young women for his parties at Mar-a-Lago. Let me repeat that last line. She also said Trump was working with Jeffrey Epstein to recruit young women for his parties at Mar-a-Lago. Don't you think it's weird that that story is not just all over the news? I mean, that sounds like a kind of a bombshell story, right? Kind of a big deal, and the corporate media just ignores it? Well, we're not going to ignore it here at the MeidasTouch Network. I want to share this new ad for you. They say, in the voting booth, women still have the right to choose. It encourages women to vote differently from their husbands if their husbands are voting Maga. This is from a group called Vote Common, and it features Julia Roberts as the narration, and it reminds women that no one will know who they voted for. Watch this.
Your turn, honey.
In the one place in America where women still have a right to choose, you can vote any way you want. And no one will ever know.
Did you make the right choice?
Sure did, honey.
Remember, what happens in the booth stays in the booth. Vote Harris Walls. Vote Common Good is responsible for the contents of this ad.
I think that's a powerful message, actually, and that message is enraging Maga right now because they think that women should do everything their husbands tell them to do. Their view is that women are subservient to their husbands. This is their worldview of things. And Charlie Kirk, who's someone who works very closely with Donald Trump, said that that ad was nauseating. Those were his words, that they were nauseating. He said her sweet husband probably works his tail off to make sure that she could have a nice life. He provides for the family, and she lies to him. I mean, watch this meltdown.
And she needs people to basically lie to their husbands, which they are promoting, by the way, which I find that entire advertising campaign so repulsive. It is so disastrous. It is just like
I'll show it in a minute.
It is the embodiment of the downfall of the American family. I think it's so gross. I think it's so just nauseating where this wife is wearing you'll show it, wearing the American hat. She's coming in with her sweet husband who probably works his tail off to make sure that she can go, and have a nice life and provides for the family. And then she lies to him saying, oh yeah, I'm going to vote for Trump. And then she votes for Kamala Harris as her little secret in the voting booth. Kamala Harris and her team believe that there will be millions of women that undermine their husbands and do so in a way that it's not detectable in the polling.
They are so scared of women with their own opinions. I think it tells you kind of everything you need to know. And also just the way Donald Trump speaks about Kamala Harris. I've had a lot of women tell me that it's just so demeaning to all women. Like yesterday, Donald Trump did this again. He called Kamala Harris a low IQ individual, and in the biggest example of projection you may ever see from Donald Trump, and that's saying a whole lot, he claimed that Kamala Harris is running a campaign of hate, anger, and retribution and spending all of her time complaining.
Kamala Harris, a very low IQ individual, is running a campaign of hate, anger, and retribution. She spends all of her time complaining about everything, but does nothing about it.
Literally all of his insults are just about himself, if you noticed. Every single insult is just about himself. It's the ultimate projection nonstop when you hear Donald Trump speak. And yesterday, Donald Trump was also struggling with his health. We saw him out there. He had this whole stunt that he was trying to do because he was trying to capitalize on President Biden's comment when President Biden meant to say that the comedian at Donald Trump's event was garbage, and people interpreted it as calling all of MAGA garbage. Donald Trump showed up in a garbage truck wearing a whole outfit, and when he tried to get into the truck, he stumbled. It seemed like he had a physical issue trying to get in. He couldn't reach the handle. He was off balance. It was very odd. Watch this. I'm just saying there's a reason that Donald Trump refuses to release his medical records, and I think the American people deserve to know. The chief propagandist at the propaganda network of Fox tried to hype up this event as an iconic, epic moment, but what Hannity didn't realize is as he was saying that, the clip next to him was that clip of Donald Trump nearly falling to the ground. Watch this.
And treasure. And today in Wisconsin, take a look at that. This may go down as an iconic epic moment that we will remember for a long time.
Yeah, it might go down as iconic, but not for the reasons that you think, Hannity. And Fox is just in full propaganda mode right now. Let me show you some of the chyrons. That's the text that appears at the bottom of the screen that they had for Donald Trump when Trump was speaking yesterday, and what they had for Vice President Harris during her speech at the Ellipse. And when you see this, you could understand the kind of brainwashing operation that they have and why this country is so divided and not understanding exactly what is going on. Here are some of the headlines they had while Donald Trump was speaking. Trump, here with a message of hope. Trump, asking you to be excited about the future. Trump, can't lead the U.S. if you don't love Americans. Trump, this will be America's new golden age. Now let me show you what Fox had to say about Vice President Harris at the Ellipse. These were the chyrons that they were running while they ran her speech. These are what their viewers were seeing throughout the night. Kamala calls for unity while trashing Trump. Kamala pushes fear in closing message. Kamala lists policies she failed to enact as VP. Desperate Kamala, closing message all about Trump, and there's more. Kamala, elect me to fix my mistakes. Kamala makes her case after 4 years of chaos. Kamala closes with fear and fascism. Kamala delivers dark closing argument. Fox really just lives in this alternate reality, and they keep their viewers in this bubble of disinformation. That's why they say, they've done studies on this, by the way, that people who watch Fox are actually less informed than people who don't watch any news at all. I think that says a whole lot. But you know who is living in reality? The Las Vegas Sun. They wrote this brutal takedown of Donald Trump with the following headline: Donald Trump's cognitive decline becoming a troubling concern. They write, quote, Americans should be alarmed by Trump's words and behavior. The nation must confront the fact that beyond his hateful character, he is crippled cognitively and showing clear signs of mental illness. Well done, Las Vegas Sun, and I hope you have an opportunity to read the full thing because it is very, very good. And while Trump creeps out women with his incredibly creepy statements, Republican Speaker Mike Johnson announced in a private meeting, this is leaked footage, that one of Trump's top priorities will be to repeal the Affordable Care Act and rip away health care from tens of millions of Americans. He described it as taking a blowtorch to that and other important regulations that keep Americans safe.
There's a lot of talk. I mean, healthcare reform is going to be a big part of the agenda. When I say we're going to have a very aggressive first 100 days agenda, we got a lot of things still on the table. But healthcare, that's part. It's the secret. It's the secret. Healthcare reform is not a secret. There's some really important ideas on the table, and we have a docs caucus, the physicians who serve in the House, and they've got a menu of options about this thick. And I think this is part of it, because if you take government bureaucrats out of the healthcare equation and you have doctor-patient relationship, it's better for everybody, more efficient, more effective. That's the free market. Trump's going to be for the free market. You heard a little sample of that last night. We want to take a blowtorch to the regulatory state, okay? Yeah. I mean, these agencies have been weaponized against the people, and it's crushing the free market. It's like a boot on the neck of job creators and entrepreneurs and risk takers. And so healthcare is one of the sectors, but we need this across the board, and Trump's going to go big. I mean, he's only going to have one more term, right? Can't run for re-election. Right. And so he's going to be thinking about legacy, and we're going to fix all these things. And,
no Obamacare?
No Obama. Yeah, the ACA is so deeply ingrained. We need massive reform to make this work, and we got a lot of ideas on how to do that.
That's quite the closing message we're getting from Republicans right now. Meanwhile, the economy continues to boom. We got a new GDP report yesterday that was above expectations. Here are some of the headlines. This from Barron's. U.S. economy sees solid growth and cooling inflation in third quarter, GDP report shows. And we're seeing full unemployment of 4.1%, inflation down to 2.4%, the 10-year Treasury rate at 4.3%, real GDP growth at 2.8%. As Ben Carlson, who's a finance guy, says, if there is such thing as a sweet spot for the economy, we are basically in it right now. Here's a headline from CNN. America's economy just achieved the rare feat of a soft landing. The U.S. economy is just the envy of the world right now. And in addition to Donald Trump's troubles with female voters, the fallout with the Puerto Rican and the Latino community continues. And yesterday, while Donald Trump was doing the stunt in a garbage truck, he had to answer questions about an individual at his rally at New York City at Madison Square Garden, referring to Puerto Rico as a floating island of garbage. And Trump did what he always does, which is say that he didn't even know the person, he's a comedian, I don't know anything about it.
What did you think about I don't know anything about the comedian. I don't know who he is. I've never seen him. I heard he made a statement, but it was just a statement that he made. He's a comedian. What can I tell you? I know nothing about him. I don't know why he's there. You put comedians up, and I guess he went on earlier in the show. I don't know who he is.
As our editor-in-chief Ron Filipkowski said, so the plan for the day for the Trump campaign was to have Trump talk about the Puerto Rico controversy from a garbage truck, because that's what happened. Nice optics. All we are missing is the paper towels. And just look at him here. I mean, no offense to clowns here, but he quite literally looks like a clown in this picture. This is not an edited picture. This is a real picture. We here at the MeidasTouch Network made a new digital short about Donald Trump's relationship with Puerto Rico over the years, because, while that may have been a joke calling Puerto Rico an island of garbage, Donald Trump has always treated Puerto Rico like it is garbage. So we recapped the history of Trump under his presidency, the way that he treated Puerto Rico going up till now. Watch this.
I hate to tell you, Puerto Rico, but you've thrown our budget a little out of whack.
160-mile-per-hour sustained winds, barrels towards Puerto Rico.
President Trump sounding annoyed. Wow, yet another big storm heading to Puerto Rico. Will it ever end?
Hurricane Maria, the deadliest storm for Americans in more than a century.
He tweeted from his golf club saying Puerto Ricans want everything to be done for them.
We are dying, and you are killing us with the inefficiency.
The president calling Puerto Rico one of the most corrupt places on earth.
Puerto Rico may have no electricity for months to come. 3,000 people died as a result of the hurricane.
President Trump tweeted 3,000 people did not die.
He wanted to see if we could swap Puerto Rico for Greenland, because in his words, Puerto Rico was dirty and the people were poor.
There's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. I think it's called Puerto Rico.
There's never been an event so beautiful. It was like a love fest.
Puerto Ricans deserve better. As president, I will always fight for you and your families, and together we can turn the page and chart a new and a joyful way forward.
I think it's important that people get reminded of this stuff, because I think sometimes people have this collective amnesia and forget how chaotic and how horrific the entire Trump administration actually was, and how every time there was a crisis, he made it even worse. And so please share that video with everybody you know. It's important that people see it. By the way, Nicky Jam, the Puerto Rican and Dominican music artist who has tens of millions of followers on social media, he had endorsed Donald Trump a little over a month ago at his rally. He has now renounced his support for Donald Trump after the rally comment made about Puerto Rico being a floating island of garbage. If you don't remember, this is him. I remember Donald Trump brought him on stage and had no idea who he was, and basically completely humiliated the guy by saying that he was a girl. He called him a she and said she's hot. And you could see the second Nicky Jam steps on stage, Trump realizes that he made a mistake. Watch this.
Latin music superstar Nicky Jam. Do you know Nicky? She's hot. Where's Nicky? Where's Nicky? Thank you, Nicky. Great to be having you here. Now you have to get... Oh, look. Come here. Come here. I'm glad he came up.
And on Tuesday, Vice President Kamala Harris held massive rallies in both North Carolina and in Wisconsin. She was in Madison, Wisconsin, near the university. And just look at this crowd. The energy was absolutely electric. Let me show you some of her words from when she first came out to deliver her speech. Watch this.
And here's the thing. We know who Donald Trump is. This is not someone who is thinking about how to make your life better. This is someone who is unstable, obsessed with revenge, consumed with grievance, and out for unchecked power. And in less than 90 days, it's either going to be him or me in the Oval Office. Here's what we know. If he is elected, it's not going to happen, but if he were elected, on day one, Donald Trump would walk into that office with an enemies list. You know, he talks about the enemies from within. When I am elected, I will walk in with a to-do list focused on your needs.
And now let me show you her closing message of the rally, which I found inspiring, and I hope you do too.
So, Wisconsin, okay, we got 6 days to get this thing done. And no one can sit on the sidelines. So let's spend the next 6 days so that when we look backward after the 6th day, we will know we did everything we could, okay? So now is the time to knock on doors, to text, to call, to reach out to family and friends and classmates and coworkers and neighbors. And as we do, here's my request. As we do all of that, let's be intentional about building community. And let's be intentional about building coalitions. Let's remember that the vast majority of us have so much more in common than what separates us. And let's approach this. Let's approach this with that spirit. And with the spirit of, in the face of a stranger, seeing a neighbor. Let's do it that way, okay? Let's do it that way. And let us remember that your vote is your voice, and your voice is your power. So, Madison, today I ask you, are you ready to make your voices heard? Do we believe in freedom? Do we believe in opportunity? Do we believe in the promise of America? And are we ready to fight for it? And when we fight, we win. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.
Well said. Folks, the election is just a few days away. Now's the time where we got to be putting in the work. No time to rest. Make sure you vote. Make sure you are getting out the vote. Check with your friends and family members, everybody who is pro-democracy. Make sure they went to the polls. It's so important that you do that. Don't worry about annoying people. Make sure that they get to the polls. There's never been anything more important than this election. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to hit subscribe. Help us get to 3.5 million subscribers here at the MeidasTouch Network. If you have a second, could you go and add the MeidasTouch podcast anywhere you get audio podcasts? That's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever you use. Go ahead, add the MeidasTouch podcast. Leave us a 5-star review while you're at it. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you soon.
Hey Meidas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.